friends, Amanda here. Welcome back to Handmade No Hallmark. Today I've got this really beautiful, elegant card featuring some awesome products from HoneyBee. I just love how this card turned out. It turned out exactly the way I had envisioned it, and I really hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. I'm going to be using some new products from HoneyBee. I'm going to be using their new Lovely Layers Winter Birds. I just love this set so much. I love the little chickadee and the cardinal. They are so pretty and easy to put together. I'm also going to be using some pine branches from the beautiful bouquets stamp set, or die set, excuse me. I'm also going to be using the Let Nature Sing stamp and die set, as well as a new pattern paper, Make It Merry, and some other new products as well. The first thing I want to do is I want to get my cardinal ready. So I've die cut my cardinal pieces out of some colored cardstock to start with. These are just some scraps from my bin. You could easily use white cardstock and color it in with any medium that you choose. I just personally like to use color cardstock and add my shading with my Copic markers. You could use colored cardstock and add the shading in with ink blending or colored pencils or watercolor, anything like that. This is just a quicker method for me, and it is my favorite method. So all I'm doing is I'm just going around the edges and adding in some nice deep rich shadows, and I'm kind of taking the other layers and I'm putting them on top of each other just to see where I need to add the color, and just to make sure that I don't do any extra blending that I don't really need to. So this cardinal came together beautifully. I absolutely love it. Cardinals are one of my favorite birds for the winter season and all year long. We have a couple of cardinal pairings or couples that hang around our house, and they visit us every winter, and I love to feed them and the kids love to see them. And in our home we always think that the cardinals are loved ones that came to visit us. So it is a wonderful little thing that we like to do with the kids in the winter time, and I really love cardinals. They are so special to me and my family that I just had to create this card and had to get this die from HoneyBee, and I'm so thankful that they came out with this. I love it so much, and I know exactly who this card is going to, so I can't wait to send it out for them to see it. They will love it so much. So again, just going around different areas, adding that shading, and just kind of going with what I think looks nice, going with the etchings that are in the paper that come with the die, again, just to add some more detail to this little bird. Now I can go ahead and adhere it. I'm going to be using my Barely Art adhesive. Now I ended up adding a little bit too much adhesive here down near the tail. I totally forgot that the tail was kind of in pieces here, but it's really not that big of a deal. I can just easily wipe that away and you won't see it. It dries nice and clear. So, and this bird is so easy to put together. You just have to line up the head portions and they line up beautifully and it works out nice. Now I didn't add any adhesive to the feet on my bird because I want it to set on top of a branch later that I'm going to add. So it kind of looks like it's nestled in this beautiful pine tree, looking out at everyone and watching the snow. So that's kind of the idea I was going with. And I have the little beak here and the face. So the face portion, I just did it in black cardstock. I think it would look kind of neat if you did like a gray and it did some blending as well. But I felt like the black was a little bit easier for me. Without, going into too much detail and it taking a really long time to get that shading right. So I just went in with a black cardstock here. All you have to do is line up the little beak and it comes together beautifully. And I love the little feet. I think the feet were my favorite part on this die. I thought they were so sweet. And the beak, the actual beak portion, I did in kind of like it's an orangey brown. It doesn't or not an orangey brown, an orangey red. It doesn't translate really well here. It looks super bright orange. But once I go in, I'm going to add a little bit of shading with my Copic marker. It kind of dulls it down a little bit so it looks more like a cardinal's beak. Just went in with the red, and this is where I think it really makes it look more like a cardinal's beak. Now I think they're actually they are a red, but they have a little bit of black in them as well. I did do some Googling. I mean, I know what a cardinal looks like, but just to get it as close as I could, I just Googled some images just to see, and I think this one turned out pretty close. I'm gonna add the little feet here, and again, I just think they're so sweet, these little feet. They look cute. Just using my little tool here to help me get everything lined up, and this Barely Art adhesive was the perfect adhesive to do this. You could use any that you have. You could use double-sided adhesive and cut it out of that. You could use anything. I just love liquid glue and this barely art adhesive. It works perfectly. There's also a little eye that you can cut out, and you have to be very careful because it is super, super tiny. And I got that adhered on there as well. It doesn't, you can't really see it too well here, just because it blends in with the black that's already here. But once I add the little highlight with my gel pen, it really shines, and I think it looks perfect. I actually created 2 of these and used the second one and hung it on a wreath, a little tiny wreath by my bedroom door. It fits perfectly. It looks so cute. I love these. I think these would be really fun to use for home decor. Next, I'm going to go in and I'm going to do some coloring with my Copics with some of the pine boughs from the beautiful bouquet die set from HoneyBee, and excuse me, and I'm just going in with these 3 Copic markers and adding some detail to this. Again, this is my favorite way to add detail to die cuts, is using my Copics. You could do ink blending, you could do anything, you could leave them blank, however you choose. I just think it makes it look more like a pine bough if you go in with the feathering and make it look like the actual needles on the pine bough. So I'm just going to go through and do that on all of these pieces here. Nothing super extraordinary or extravagant. I'm just going in and adding this. So I'm going to speed this process up. Again, these are some of my favorite dies from HoneyBee. I have used them several times over the years to add lots of greenery and different things to my cards. I really think that they're versatile and you can use them for any season in the wintertime. I love the branches and all of the pine boughs. I think they look really pretty. So again, just going to go through and do this, and we can get to working on the rest of the elements for my card. Once I had those all finished, I took a piece of the pattern paper from the Make It Merry set from HoneyBee, and I just love this set. When I saw it, I just had to have it. I absolutely adore this pine needle piece. I think it is so beautiful, and I'm taking some black soot Distress Oxide ink, and I'm just going around the edges just to kind of deepen them, add some depth and dimension. This piece has already got a lot of dimension and it is gorgeous. I just wanted to add just a little bit more to intensify it and add some interest. Now that I have all of my pieces ready to go, I'm going to take a piece of Simon Says 110 pound cardstock and create a top folding A2 size card base, and I can start assembling my card. I love using the Simon Says 120 pound cardstock for my bases. I think it's a nice sturdy one, so if you're using any kind of a thinner material like pattern paper, it gives it a lot more stability. I'm going to stamp a greeting on the inside of my card base here, and this comes from Let Nature Sing stamp set that coordinates really well with the bird dies they came out with and some of the other fun dies. And it just says Christmas blessings. I felt like it was a nice kind of just simple greeting to go on the inside, and it'll match the greeting that I'm going to put on the outside as well. I'm going to stamp that down using some red Schoolhouse Red Schoolhouse Red ink from Simon Says Stamp. And just going to stamp that down on the inside, and I just love how this turns out. It looks so beautiful. I love this scripty kind of font with this. I think a lot of companies have come out with this kind of nice thin, simple scripty font over the last few months, and I think that it is beautiful. Now that I'm ready to go, I can definitely start assembling my card. I'm going to take that piece and I'm just going to adhere it down flat to my card panel, and it's going to leave a nice thin border. I pre-cut it ahead of time, so I had a nice thin white border around my little scene I'm creating here, just to kind of help pull in some more white and really kind of mat it out and make it look really festive. I also took some of my oval dies and I created a little frame out of some gold cardstock, and I also cut another piece out of vellum. And this is going to kind of create a focal point on my card. I really wanted to have this bird on here, but I didn't want it to kind of blend into the background, so I wanted to create a nice little frame for the bird to kind of nestle around and create a focal point on my card. I really love the way that this turned out. You could pop it up and give it more of a hazy look behind it, but I just decided to adhere it flat to my card base because I'm going to be adding lots of dimension with the bird and the other elements. So I'm just going to get it all lined up here because I do want to stamp a greeting on the vellum portion, another greeting from the same Let Nature Sing stamp set. And I just kind of was arranging things. At first I was going to have my bird on this side, but then I realized like his tail was sticking way too far down, and I did not want to cut anything off of my cardinal. I wanted to have the entire cardinal. So after I did some fiddling and fussing around with things and kind of deciding on where I wanted to put things. This first kind of fussing I did here is not how the finished card turned out, but I was just trying to get an idea of where I wanted to place my bird so that I knew it would fit really well on the card. So here you can see that I've kind of got another branch here, and this is from the Simon Says stamp, Berry Stems Wafer Dies from their Cozy Hugs release, and I wanted to have him kind of setting on a branch, and I felt like this branch went really well with the pine boughs. I feel like it looks like a branch that doesn't have any pine needles on it anymore, so I felt like it looked really well. And at first I was going to place it there, and I was going to tuck my sentiment above it, but then I decided to kind of switch it. I wanted it to be on the other side, kind of looking away from the card. It sounds kind of weird, but I felt like it nestled in better with the greeting on the other side. So I'm just taking some anti-static powder, and I'm going to stamp down my greeting with some Versamark ink. I am using the greeting Cardinals appear when angels are near, and that's kind of the theme in our family. Every time we see a cardinal, we feel like it's angels or past family members. I know that's kind of not everybody's vibe, or those sorts of things. It's just if it really hit a spot in my heart, this card did. So I'm going to use some Brutus Monroe Alabaster White embossing powder to coat that. Now you could use some StazOn ink, which I think would look really nice as well. I just wanted to use my embossing powder just to get a greeting, excuse me, I cannot talk today, to stand out a little bit more. So I'm going to get my heat gun going nice and hot. I want to make sure that it's super duper hot, ready to go, so it melts that embossing powder quickly so it doesn't burn my vellum. Once I have that all ready to go, I can clean up my mess here, and I can get to assembling the card. I can get all of my pieces put on here. And again, I loved how this card turned out. It took me, I'm going to say it took me a little while to get it, till I was happy with it. In the end, I do absolutely adore this card. I love this style. You could use any bird dies that you have. You could use any kind of pattern paper or anything like that to create this little scene. And I just think it is so fun to be able to play around with pattern papers, especially ones like this. This one, I just love it so much. I'm going to have to get another packet of this so that I have extra, because I'm going to end up using this pine bough probably a lot. So here's where I decided I wanted to change the direction that my bird is sitting. So I just trimmed off a little bit of that branch die and kind of tucked it up under his little feet. And that's why I didn't want to add any adhesive. And I think it works better on this side, so then I can start tucking things around. And I love how the branch kind of blends in to the pattern paper. It looks like it's actually a part of the scene. And these branches, I had thought about putting some white gouache on the needles of these dies here, just to make them look a little bit more like the background, look like they have some snow on them. I didn't think about it until I was actually editing the video, so if I make another card like this, which I probably will because it is absolutely gorgeous, I'm going to try to do that with the pine boughs. I'm going to try to add some white gouache and make it look like they're all snowy. I think it would look really cute. I also took some of the plain little sticks from that same HoneyBee set, the winter bouquet set, and I'm going to add some red berries to that later. Now that I'm happy with the assembly of everything and how it's all fitting in together, I'm going to go ahead and start adhering everything down. I'm going to use that same Barely Art adhesive liquid glue, and I'm going to kind of put my oval more towards the top than centered. It doesn't look like it, but it is shifted a little bit more towards the top because I wanted to make sure that I got the entire bird on there. I didn't want to have to trim anything off of this card. I wanted to have everything intact. And I think he does kind of stick down just a tiny bit off the bottom, but again, I wasn't super concerned about that. It'll still fit in an envelope, I think, and it won't be an issue at all. Gonna get him adhered down nice and flat. I do not pop anything up on this card. I leave everything flat because there was lots of dimension already. I didn't feel like I needed to add any more. So again, here, I guess I didn't leave. He kind of fits in perfectly right there. I think it looks beautiful. I can't go on about how much I love this die. I love how HoneyBee comes out with all of these really unique and fun layering dies. They are just so versatile, and I think this bird would look really cute as a blue jay as well. If you could, it's kind of shaped, they're both shaped the same in their anatomy, and I think it would look really pretty as a blue jay. I think that would be really fun for the spring. Now I'm just going around and taking those pine boughs and I'm just tucking them in around my cardinal here, just to make it look like he's really nestled in amongst the trees. We have 3 pine trees outside of our house and the birds love to nest in there. They're really full and a really good place for them to hide, and we always get the cardinals to nest in there, and I felt like this was just the perfect kind of little setup here, and I loved tucking these in around here. I felt like the spot next to the cardinal was a little empty, and so I was trying my best to kind of fill that in. I wasn't too concerned about it. Once I had everything together, I felt like it looked really nice. Again, I was thinking about maybe adding something else over there, but I didn't want to add too much for it to be, you know, an overloaded card and be a little bit distracting. So once I get everything in and I start doing my finishing details, I think it fills it out nicely and it looks really festive and beautiful. Gonna get these branches added here just to add a little bit more brown to the card. And I wanted to add one more piece. This is where I felt like it was a little bit lacking. I felt like it was kind of empty in that space. So I wanted to add just a tiny bit more of those pine boughs, and I wanted to use them all up since I colored them all. I decided I needed to use all of them. So I'm gonna get that tucked in down there. I had to pull a few things up, but it didn't damage anything. And I just added a little bit more adhesive and held it down there with my acrylic block. Now I can go in with my finishing detail. So I'm going to be using some of these new embellishment dots from HoneyBee, these pearl stickers. I really wanted to add berries to the little branches just to add a little bit more red to it. And these were the perfect size, and I felt like they worked beautifully. If you don't have anything like this, you could definitely use a crystal drop or something like that. I have done that in the past, but I didn't want to mess around with waiting for it to dry or anything. So I felt like these little pearls were perfect. You could use anything that you have on hand, any kind of sequins or anything like that to add those berries. And I really feel like this makes the card pop with those little tiny bits of red to kind of go along with the cardinal. I'm also going to go in with my favorite snowflake embellishments from from Trinity Stamps. These are their snowflake clay embellishments. I use them a lot, so it's no surprise that I was going to use it on this card. There's already some snowflakes in the background, which I felt was perfect, but I needed to add a little bit more because that's me. I add probably more than I should, but I really wanted to add just a few more of these to add a little bit more pop of white and a little bit more dimension. And I wanted something to kind of fill in that empty space on that vellum, and I felt like the snowflakes were perfect for that. I'm just using my reverse tweezers to pick these up. I have found that this is the easiest way to pick these up. I have struggled with using any of those embellishment wands, but these have turned out to be the best way to pick up these little snowflakes. It's just using these reverse tweezers. They work perfectly. You just grab them, place them down, and you're good to go. Adding just a few more here and there, just to fill in the little scene. And one more down by our little cardinal. And finally, I'm going to go in with my Wink of Stella glitter brush pen in the clear and add a little bit of shimmer and shine to the branches so they look kind of frosty, and a little bit to my bird because you can never have too much shine. And that will finish up this card for today. I really hope you enjoyed this fun die cut heavy card featuring some new products from HoneyBee. If you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting the like button. It lets YouTube know that you're enjoying all of the content that I bring to you. Also, please consider hitting the subscribe so you don't miss out on any more videos here at my YouTube channel. I hope you're enjoying the Christmas card series this year. I am having a lot of fun creating it. I'm really enjoying the series, and I hope you are too. I can't wait to share with you the next cards, and I'll see you again real soon. Bye!
On screen, I've got a few videos that I think you'll enjoy. Consider hitting the subscribe button so you don't miss out on any more videos at my YouTube channel.